The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network. Hey, Skywalkers, and happy May the 4th! In this bonus celebratory episode of Skywalking Through Neverland, we're going to share our thoughts on the 6-part animated anthology Disney Plus series, Tales of the Empire, which premieres on May the 4th.
And we're also going to play highlights from the virtual press event, where we joined a roundtable with other Star Wars fan outlets to talk with Diana Lee Inosanto, who voices and reprises her role as Morgan Elsbeth from The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, and Meredith Salenger, who returns to voice the expelled Jedi Barriss Offee from the Clone Wars.
Are you ready?
Off to Neverland!
Here we go!
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets lab.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Now, before we hear from Diana Lee Inosanto and Meredith Salenger, let's tell everyone that we are being sponsored by Small World Vacations, and they are a diamond-level Disney vacation planner travel agency and can book your trip to a Disney park around the world or even on a Disney cruise. And best of all, this service is free of charge. So head over there to smallworldvacations.com for a no-obligation price quote and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
Now, Skywalkers, we will be going over each episode in detail, so please note that there will be spoilers.
Warning.
Spoilers ahead! Spoilers ahead!
But hopefully you've watched Tales of the Empire already, and you're here to hear more and see more and just analyze it. That's what we do here.
All right, now before we go into breaking down each of the episodes, give us your initial thoughts on this series.
Okay, so I like that these series, now this is kind of a continuation of Tales of the Jedi.
Yes.
Which featured Ahsoka and Count Dooku. And both of those characters, it was interesting, they had 3 episode arcs for each of those characters, and they mirrored each other a little bit. Both of them were disillusioned with the Jedi Order. Now here in Tales of the Empire, we have that same thing, but only darker. So this series, it takes 2 characters that have something similar about each other and then studies how they each take a different path based on who they are. So here, Morgan Elsbeth and Barriss Offee, we both see them in the first episodes of their arcs as the lowest of low. So Barriss is imprisoned. She's forsaken by the Jedi Order. Morgan has her whole clan slaughtered by Grievous and company, and they are alone. And then from there, we follow where their journeys lead, and they diverge completely. And I like that dichotomy of them. And I feel like these 2 stories really work together. And I don't think either would work on their own because they're really opposites down to their final shot, which makes it really fun to analyze. So, down to the final shot here, Morgan, her story ends with her walking towards the camera with this tortured face and fire literally burning around her. Whereas Barriss's story ends, she's being held by the fourth sister, or Lynn, the Inquisitor, and she's coming out of an ice cave, and Barriss is at rest or at peace. We don't know if she's dead or not, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Yeah. But it's the opposite. She's surrounded by ice, she's at peace. Whereas Morgan is surrounded by fire and she's tortured. So I really like that. And I thought it was fun, and I think it's a really fun 6-part story to analyze as well. Also, the animation is incredible. There are some amazing shots. And we'll talk about those too as we go along. So, Richard, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, the animation is just unparalleled at this point. The way they can do fire and water were always those two things that were very hard to capture, either in animation or in miniature, because
they're ethereal.
And it's something that we all know.
Yeah.
We know what fire looks like. We know what water looks like. And to see it, and if it's not looking like it really is, unless it's a stylized form of animation, then it just looks out of place. Which is why Dave Filoni was very excited at Celebration years ago when he's like, "Yay, we finally got rain! We can make rain!" So that says it all right there.
Yeah.
Now, I was very excited for an anthology series based on the Empire. However, this is more of a Tales of the Empire tangentially anthology. Instead of focusing on the Imperial governors and the Death Star, it focuses more on Morgan Elsbeth and her teaming up with Admiral Thrawn and Barriss Offee, who is being trained as an Inquisitor.
Both things that happened during the Empire.
Right,
however,
so it's tangential to the Empire.
Got it.
Where it's not Empire on the A level, where you get to see the Emperor and how he's dealing with the underlings and how he's forming the Empire, how he's taking over the galaxy, making promises. He's this demagogue who makes promises to all these star systems and never keeps them, and how everyone falls in line under him.
But then we heard who the stories are going to follow.
Right. So, then I thought, okay, maybe we're going to see some of this through the eyes of Morgan Elsbeth, but I was connecting dots that really weren't there.
Yeah.
These are dots I wanted to connect.
So you had expectations that went far beyond what the scope of this series is, I think.
Yes, but when you see that title, Tales of the Empire, what do you think this series is going to be about?
Honestly, I heard the title and then I heard the characters that they were following. And so I really just focused in on those characters, which is what these stories do. So for me, looking ahead to this, like before we saw these episodes, I heard Morgan Elsbeth. I was very excited because she's a Night Sister. Mm-hmm. And anything having to deal with the Night Sisters or learning more about that culture is fascinating to me.
Oh, right. Now, had they called this Tales of the Light and Dark? Tales of Fire and Ice?
Right.
Great. You're right there.
Yeah. And Barriss, I was excited about seeing because she was going to be, we saw little hints of the Inquisitors, right? Mm-hmm. And I read that book, Rise of the Red Blade, which is about a former Jedi who becomes an Inquisitor. And it was a fascinating story. And I loved how she went dark. And here, actually, Barriss doesn't go dark, but, she turns away from that. So it was a little different than I expected.
I was waiting to see where they were going to go with her because last we had seen of Barriss was in the Clone Wars and she was in jail.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And now, judging by the trailers, she's going to be turned into an Inquisitor. That's very interesting because we hadn't really known a Jedi turned Inquisitor from the start. We'd always known them as the Inquisitors first, and like the Grand Inquisitor was a Jedi Temple Guard.
Exactly.
All right, great. But now we're going the other direction. We see them as the Jedi Knight, then turning into an Inquisitor.
Yeah.
So that was a great turn.
Okay.
So this was a good yin and yang story. Mm-hmm. And the symbolism is never wasted between the dark and the light, but with the fire and the ice and the blues and the reds.
That's a good call too.
So now before we get into the first story, The Path of Fear, you have a specially selected clip from Diana Lee Inosanto about the fire imagery.
Yes, I knew we were going to be chatting about this fire and ice, which we've already started chatting about. So I definitely wanted to ask her what she thought that fire meant for her character.
Hey there. We are Richard and Sarah from Skywalking Through Neverland.
Oh, I love that.
Now, I love in Tales of the Empire that the primary imagery we see behind Morgan is fire. And I wanted to know, did Dave Filoni show you any kind of concept art with fire? And what do you think this says about her character, that fire?
Ooh, yeah. I noticed that too. And no, I don't, trying to think. No, I don't think I did see any concept art. I saw some earlier concepts of how Morgan would look like, and I go, oh wow, they they had a, they did a great job of really capturing, my character. But the fire I love on a symbolic level, to really symbolize her rage and her path of vengeance, and really the kind of pain she would went through. And that fire is something that's echoed throughout, from starting from Dathomir to all the way to, the moments, because it's concurrent with right before what happens on in Mandalorian. And I just thought brilliant, just brilliant to the whole animation team. Yeah.
Yeah, always very curious to what they show the actors before they start recording. And a lot of times they will show them concept art. This is what your character is going through. This is where they are. Or even what they look like. But in this case, she already knows what Morgan Elsbeth looks like.
Right. And another thing we learned with talking to both Meredith and Diana was the fact that during the recording sessions, even though Dave Filoni didn't direct these episodes, he did write them, and he was in the recording booth with both of them. So he was giving them, the down low on their characters.
Yeah. And plus, once again, they've already played their characters many times before, so they were very into the mindset of the characters. But just being in a whole new environment, like if she had been shown that those stills, some of the animation concepts with a big fire blazing back of her.
Yeah.
But I think knowing that she's the one who burnt down the forest outside of the Corvus village, she's an actress. She can put all this stuff together.
She can picture it.
Yeah. So I just like to know what brings an actor to the level where they give that performance, and she explained it thoroughly. All right, now let's get into the first episode, The Path of Fear.
Yes.
All right, this story shows us a different point of view of the Dathomir purge by the Separatists as seen in the Clone Wars. Grievous leads the attack with the command last heard from Darth Sidious and the Phantom Menace: wipe them out, all of them.
That was so cool.
Oh, yeah. Little did we know, Morgan Elsbeth is present during this purge, and she's one of the only few survivors. And
yeah, her mother is killed.
Pretty much everyone.
By Sidious. Yeah, and her sisters, like, they're all dying around her, but her mom, that was a heartfelt moment.
That's why Grievous said to wipe them out, all of them. Grievous, you missed one. You missed a couple of them. So after the village is wiped out, she's taken in by the Mountain Clan.
Yeah. Now, Richard, you like little Easter eggs. Was there any Easter eggs in this one?
Oh, yeah. Wipe them out, all of them.
Yeah.
Was to me, okay, now you're tying things back into the prequels.
Yeah.
And I love that. I thought that was a great connection there. And I just love the fact that when we can see an alternate angle or a view of something we've already seen, like in the last season of the Clone Wars, we saw different angles from what we'd seen in Revenge of the Sith.
Right. Yeah, like that was happening concurrently.
Yeah.
Also, the music helps kind of bring everything together because it's very prequel sounding, right? In the very first part of this episode. It's like
another way to connect the
yeah.
prequels to this episode.
Yes. And this is also connected a little to Star Wars Resistance in that Susie McGrath is voicing Witch Number 1, and she played Tam Rivora in Star Wars Resistance.
Yeah, please bring back more of the Resistance.
Yeah.
It's a very underrated Star Wars animated series. All right, now we have a clip to play alongside this episode by Diana Lee Inosanto on her research on the Night Sisters.
Yes.
I did my own homework as well. I watched the Clone Wars and Rebels. But I also read Timothy Zahn's books. I felt that most likely that Morgan would have a certain common ground with the people that Thrawn chose to be in his inner circle as well. And then later on, E. Ann Convery, her short story called Bug was also very important to me. But I still, even up to that point, didn't know if Morgan was truly on Dathomir, seeing Grievous mow through her people. So when I finally got the script for Tales of the Empire, I was absolutely thrilled. I was so energized by just the opening sequence. And I think too, it gives people a different taste of Morgan's background, her world, and what drives her. And more important, the love she has for her people.
So when are we going to see her teaming up with Asajj Ventress?
I know.
This has got to happen.
So yeah, I'm so curious about Asajj Ventress, and also by the introduction of this mountain clan in Dathomir. Like, okay, after the end of Ahsoka series and the Night Sisters and Thrawn returned to Dathomir, I was under the impression that this world would be just vacant. But apparently Grievous didn't wipe out all of everyone on this planet. So
well, I'm not
what
sure
are
that
they
was
gonna
the
return
actual
to?
plan. Wipe them out means just the Night Sisters. The Mountain Clan, they didn't do anything to us, so they're fine up there.
But the Mountain Clan has magic too.
But that's not who they were going after. This was all about the grudge Dooku had for Asajj Ventress. So they had one particular village in mind. That's the village where Asajj was being...
She was raised.
Yeah, raised, and Dooku knew that she was going to be brought back there. So they were going after Asajj. They had one target in mind, and that was Asajj. The mountain people, you guys didn't do anything to us, you're fine.
Well, they didn't succeed because Asajj has 9 lives, and she's still around.
well, if all those other Night Sisters have got 9 lives or many, many lives, then you gotta come back, Grievous. You gotta come back again 9 more times. It was sad that the Mountain Clan took in Morgan, and then she took a couple of the Mountain Clan women into the village of the Night Sisters, and that's when the Separatists came back and killed the Mountain Girls.
Well,
that was very sad.
Yes, this was like a microcosm of the story of Luke going into the cave on Dagobah. What are you going to find there? Only what you take with you. He took his lightsaber. You know, he was intent on finding something that he was going to have to fight. Well, this is kind of a similar situation. If the Mountain Clan...
Because they were going into the village to find their weapons.
Right. So if the Mountain Clan hadn't gone to gather weapons to, weaponize themselves, then Grievous's, little robot wouldn't have found them, and they wouldn't have come back and killed them. So it was a similar situation. By trying to arm themselves, they harmed themselves.
Well, violence always brings on violence.
Yes.
And Morgan Elsbeth, she had these two like scythes. She would put them together as a circle and separate them. Yeah. Put them, the circle is now complete and separates them.
Yeah. What does that say?
That says a lot about her. The circle is complete with where she is going as a character, but this violence is only going to rip her apart.
Oh, nice. I love it. I love that.
Oh, high five to me.
Yes. Oh, and then let's talk about how the music really helps this episode. So first of all, the gong is back. At the beginning of each episode of Tales of the Jedi or Tales of the Empire, these are like campfire stories, myths, fables you're telling to the people. And so that is what a gong is in a village. It's a call to storytelling.
Or it means that you're booted off the Gong Show.
Yes.
I'll explain it later on.
Okay. Is that what that brought to mind for you?
Yes, on the Gong Show. When you got gonged, you're out. It's like America's Got Talent. When you hear the big red X,
okay,
you're out. Or I guess you get 3 of them. But here, you just need one gong, you're out.
All right, well, Morgan has a theme, and it's more than just a gong. All right, so first of all, Kevin Kiner created a theme for her back in the Ahsoka series. So let's hear this. When Baylan comes to rescue Morgan from that New Republic ship, you hear this theme.
It's a very soft theme.
It is, but it's very mournful. It's very sad. And it's kind of the notes are going down. It's like, oh, very sad. Well, this theme returns here. And at the end credits of each of her 3 episodes, we hear her theme.
Is it me or did they add vocals to this one?
They did. It's a very mournful theme. It's almost like a woman wailing.
Right. The other one did not.
No, the other one was violins.
It's violins, the strings,
yeah.
right.
And here, what's interesting about Morgan, especially in this episode, is when she wakes up in the Mountain Clan village, there's a solo violin playing. It's not playing her theme just yet. It's very like notes here and there, but it's a solo violin. That's going to come back. So put a pin in that. But in each of the end credits, we hear this like women wailing her theme along with some violins playing accompaniment. So violin is a little bit like her spirit instrument.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, and I do have to note, you were talking about imagery, and I have to note that I got in the images here that the Mountain Clan it's a very peaceful place because they're in very neutral tones. They're in grays, soft grays, light colors, very neutral. And Morgan, she doesn't fit in. She is in red, and that stands out.
She's the devil.
Well, in this case, yep, she was.
She's a night sister and she's a devil.
Now, Morgan here, she's on the path of fear, which leads, what does Yoda say?
Fear leads to anger.
Yes.
Good segue into part 2, the path of anger.
Yes. All right, so explain what's happening in this episode.
In this episode, Morgan Elsbeth is trying to sell the Empire on her idea to manufacture TIE Defenders. They deem it too expensive. However, when they do eventually take over the planet Corvus, where the materials can be found to produce the ships, they will revisit this idea, or more to the point, they will just take the materials from Corvus, which in turn they'll take her idea to build the TIE Defenders. Morgan, you should have seen this coming in, okay? However, Captain Pelion, that name sound familiar?
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Any Timothy Zahn lovers.
Mm-hmm. Now, Captain Pelion seeks Morgan out on the planet of Corvus, and this was the planet last seen in the Mandalorian episode The Jedi, where Ahsoka battles Morgan to get the information on Thrawn's whereabouts, to give you an idea of where we are right now. Now, Pelion tests Morgan for Admiral Thrawn, puts her through a little test with a vicious attack from Rook. Rook returns.
Yay! Who's he voiced by?
Rook is the bodyguard for Thrawn, and he's voiced by Warwick Davis, who voiced him in Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
This episode should have been called The Path of the Return.
The Path of the EU.
Yeah, there you go. Now, after Morgan proves herself, an impressed Thrawn appears and asks, "Why do you seek Imperial favor?" And she answers, "Revenge." Revenge, there you go. What is the key word to any one of the dark side? Their keywords are always revenge.
Yes.
You want to find someone that's with the Sith on social media? Look up hashtag revenge, and you can find them out.
Not Revenge of the Jedi,
No.
Revenge of the Night Sister.
Yeah. So she goes on by saying, "I seek to avenge. My anger gives me strength, and it is this strength that I offer the Empire." Well, this is all Thrawn needs to hear, and says, "All right, you're in. We like that word. You hit us with the hot topic of revenge. You're in." So now in this episode, once again, we get the return of Thrawn, Captain Pelion, and Rook.
Yeah. I love this. I love that we get so many characters. I was freaking out. We also get Thrawn's theme returning. So remember...
I didn't hear no Thrawn theme.
Okay, well, that's because it was not played by an organ at first.
Oh.
It was played by a flute.
No, you gotta have it played on a organ. Those old Dracula style organs.
But it was really cool. So listen to this. Okay, you kind of have to hear it. You listen to the background because Thrawn and Morgan are talking, but you really have to hear the background of it.
To witness a display of your particular skills.
Why not experience them firsthand?
Oh, you misunderstand. My interest is based on admiration and ambition.
Who are you?
Admiral Thrawn. Captain Pelion told me the finer details of your presentation.
So you can kind of hear that. I can't sing it.
Right, but unless it's played on a Dracula castle organ.
Well, it turns into an organ later. I do have to say that. Yeah. But right there when they're first meeting, it's a little flute going, oh, look, here's Thrawn. Here's his theme. So I thought that was cute.
Who's saying this?
Look, it's the Kiners. Look. Oh, we should note, we were talking about the music. This music is Kevin Kiner, Sean Kiner, and Deanna Kiner also created this music. And they love weaving in the themes, and we love figuring them out. So, yay. Okay, also in this episode, I thought it was fun that Thrawn ends it by saying, "Long live the Empire," and his theme is in the organ there. And then Morgan does not repeat this. Instead, she just stays silent. And I believe that this is a nod, like in the Ahsoka series, Thrawn is all about bringing the Empire back to the Star Wars galaxy. And he's like, "For the Empire," and she whispers under her breath, "For Dathomir." So it's all about Dathomir for her. And you can really see where that comes from in these episodes.
Sometimes silence speaks louder than words.
Yes, yes.
And she proved it right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She don't give two
F's
about the Empire.
You can say F's.
Okay. She just wants to avenge.
Yes.
Avenge and revenge.
And she'll use her strength, which she gets from her anger, to help the Empire, but it's only for means of getting that return of Dathomir. Yeah. And Thrawn, too, is a little like that. He's using the Empire kind of for his own ends. So you know what? Let's listen to Diana Inosanto talking about that connection between Thrawn and Morgan.
Ooh, very philosophical question here. You know, for what I love is that Thrawn saw something in Morgan. He saw that she was not just smart, but she was tenacious and also in many ways they were outsiders, right? And so they were probably realized that in some ways when you're an outsider trying to navigate the Empire, that could be possibly maybe a weak position, but not for those two. You know, they knew that they both were brilliant, had great minds, and I love that Thrawn wanted to recruit Morgan and bring her into his circle, because there was a whole new agenda for Thrawn, right? But also for Morgan wanting, inevitably, as we would see in Ahsoka, to restore Dathomir. So yeah, that's what I got from the relationship.
Why bother being on the dark side or the bad side? Because you just know that everyone else is out to get you, and everyone else is going to backstab you or step on you. The way that they're planning themselves. And it was Thrawn later on in Rebels who takes up the TIE Defender initiative.
Yeah, that's true.
How did that happen?
Well, maybe they were working together. I would assume. Or you think he just took it from her?
I think the Empire just came in and took it.
I don't know about that.
Never catch a break.
Yeah, you could have a point that he might have stolen those plans from her.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, it's not above anyone in the Empire to backstab anyone like we saw earlier.
Well, but Thrawn, he likes to cultivate. He likes to cultivate. So
he's going to cultivate her and her talents.
Yes.
And then go, thank you.
Right. Okay. Well, and yeah, just like he in Ahsoka series, he uses those witches on Peridia to get back. Like they're a means to an end. So I think Morgan, I guess he looks at her as a means to an end as well. Now, Diana Lee Inosanto, she is a fighter, right? She knows martial arts.
Yeah. Oh, she's descendant of Bruce Lee.
Exactly. And so I thought this was a really cool question. And so there's this awesome fight between Morgan and Rook in here that is animated. And some people were thinking that might have been like mocap. Like they would capture her, but
a lot of this animation is now mocap.
Right. But it was not. She confirmed it was not. But let's hear about what she says about this fight.
I cannot get over the amazing approach and quality of the fight scenes. And it's because even with the trailer, I have been having people at Comic Cons ask me if I did mocap, and my hat goes off to the Lucasfilm animation team that really concentrated on the fight scenes, and they did an incredible job. And I know it was under the leadership of, I believe, Stuart Lee, And he does a whole homage to my godfather, the late Bruce Lee, and my dad. They looked at martial arts they did on YouTube. They studied my fights on Mandalorian and Ahsoka, and it's just brilliant how they put it all together. It really is. I'm stunned. I'm amazed as a martial artist.
All right, one addendum earlier when I said that she's a descendant of
Bruce
Lee. I meant in the family, so she
Yeah.
just said that she's the goddaughter. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's okay. I forgot too, so
Yeah.
it's not just you. So yeah, I love that she gives credit to the animators. All right, so shall we continue on along Morgan's path here?
Oh, please.
The Path of Hate, episode 3.
All right, this is the last of the Morgan Elsbeth arc, and here the New Republic shows up at Morgan's village on Corvus, where she has appointed herself as magistrate, and they are looking to recruit distant worlds, but things get out of hand very quickly and very confrontational, and the ambassador, Nadora, she says to Morgan, "Step down, don't burn everything down around you."
Way to give her a good idea.
Well, I think she was already there.
Yeah.
way ahead of you, Nadara. And Morgan Elsbeth replies back, "My world has been burning since I was a child." Morgan and her guards then kill the ambassador and her guards, then burns down the forest around their gated village. And we see this burnt forest in the Mandalorian episode, The Jedi, when Ahsoka is hiding in the mist.
Yeah.
And just devouring Morgan's troops.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and
we just rewatched that.
Yeah, and even when we first watched it, like, ooh, this burnt village, this burnt forest. It's great, powerful imagery, but what happened? What kind of a battle happened beforehand? Wasn't a battle. It was Morgan doing what Morgan does best.
Burn things.
Yeah, she
burn
liked
it to the ground.
Yeah, and this is what she knows. This is what she knows from a child. Everything has been on fire. This is the environment she grew up on. She knows, and she is trapped in this inalienable mindset that takes her back to the day where Grievous burnt down the Night Sister village, and obviously she can't move past that.
No.
So everything around her has got to be about fire.
Yes, and I find that so interesting that there's this moment right before she says to her guards, "Kill Nadora, kill her," and then starts burning everything. There's this moment, she's on that bridge in that beautiful part of the village, her
quarters.
Yes, her quarters. But there's this lake, right?
Yeah, a little pond.
A little pond over this bridge, and she's on the bridge. She looks down at the water, which is the opposite of fire, and she sees like a koi fish in there. And it's at that moment she turns away from that. She turns away from that piece, that water, and she says, "Kill her," and burns everything.
Well, the water is small and it's controlled by this pond.
Yeah.
And that's the way she likes to keep the light side, the water side of the yin and yang.
She likes control to the light side, but the dark side can burn around her.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Ugh. Yeah, it's a very bleak episode, and poor Nadura also gets on fire. Like, she is burned.
Well, she's caught in an explosion.
Yeah.
It's not like we see her engulfed in flames.
Right, but she's like, yeah, she can't survive that.
No,
that
yeah.
3rd degree burn, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ugh.
so all the New Republic, they're just wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
And then this just sets Morgan off, like, okay, I'm just gonna burn the whole forest around me, because this is what I know.
And this is where the path leads her. The path that Mountain Clan woman talked about. You know, I see your path. I see where it leads. I pity you. And here Morgan is. She's
living up to it.
She has taken all these steps down that path of fear, anger, hate. And then what does hate lead to? To suffering. And so everyone...
No. If you're gonna do it, say it like Yoda. Suffering.
Yes, there you go. Yes. See, you can do it better than me. And yeah, so everyone is suffering around her, including Morgan herself. And like I mentioned at the beginning, that last shot of her tortured face as she's walking toward the camera with the fire around her. Oh my God. And the end music right there is Morgan's theme fully realized in full orchestra.
No one is coming.
Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Would you call this being played in a major?
No,
Oh.
that's a minor key.
Okay.
What do you mean?
It just sounds like it's louder, it's more intense, more aggressive than what we'd heard earlier.
It's an orchestral instrumentation. It's no longer the wailing woman. It's no longer the solo violin. She has fully realized her character in this hate.
So it's her theme keeps getting built and built and built around the tragedy that is her life.
Exactly.
Oh,
It's her tragedy fully realized.
Now, thinking about it, I do feel really bad for her because she is trapped in the past.
Yeah.
She can't move past this.
No.
You know, you meet those people who a tragedy happened when they were at a certain age and they just can't get past it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they just go further and further into that tragedy or redoing what happened to them.
Recreating it.
Yeah.
They can't move past it. Do you know what she needs? A mental health Monday.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Hopefully by Ahsoka.
Oh, no.
Aww. Well, okay, so let's talk about some of these things that happen in this episode. One of them is the New Republic tries to send a distress signal, and there's a comlink that the droid has and that Nadura has right when she gets fried. And we hear a voice on the other end of the line. Now, did you know what this voice was before we saw the credits?
Not a clue.
Yeah, me either.
It's very short.
It is very short. What's your location? Something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we looked at the credits and top billed is Katie Sackhoff. It's like, oh, okay, it's Bo-Katan.
That was Bo-Katan on the other line.
Top billed for that one line. I thought that was cute. But
Well, it's kind of like Mark Hamill in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
He gets 3 minutes of screen time, gets top billing.
That's true. Okay, so if you think about it, this really does dovetail into The Mandalorian season 2.
Oh, very, very much so.
Because first of all, Bo-Katan knows Ahsoka. So, and that's clear from the Clone Wars.
Clone Wars,
and
right.
everything. Right. And yeah, so Din Djarin in season 2 of the Clone Wars meets with Bo-Katan and is astonished when they take off their helmets and everything.
Oh.
But basically he's looking on the hunt for a Jedi because he knows that little Grogu needs to be trained. And so Bo-Katan, she must have gotten that distress call around that time and dispatched Ahsoka, I suppose, to check out what was happening. And so she knew where Ahsoka was, so she knew that she should send Din to the Jedi Ahsoka.
Well, good building there.
Yeah. And then immediately that episode happens like right after this particular Tale of the Empire.
Right.
Yeah. I thought that was cool.
Oh, good connections there.
All right.
High five to you.
Oh, thank you. I have a question though, and there's a little nitpick. I'm allowed to nitpick too. And okay, so in this village, Morgan is like, I'm going to keep everyone working. I'm going to, you guys are working. She even says, I think at one point, let's see, the fires will continue burning. You will work night and day and save our galaxy from ruin. And each of these episodes, she says, okay, you guys are working. Have we seen these villagers work?
Not a one.
In The Mandalorian, in these 2 episodes here, they're never working. They're sitting around their little huts.
We caught them on their 15-minute break.
I guess so. Every time we've seen them, I don't know. So whatever they do for work, they're not working.
But what are they working on? I know it's kind of like superfluous, but she keeps
Yeah.
bringing it up. You guys are going to be working night and day, but like in Andor, those prisoners on Nakina 5 are working night and day, and we
Right.
see what they're working on.
Yes.
I just want to see what they're working on here.
Okay, so in the background of some of these shots of the village on Corvus, you see factories in the background with smoke coming from them, like polluting the environment. So I'm assuming that's where they work, but we never see them go there. I mean, I know it's not really part of the story, but like everyone seems to be hanging out in the village and not working.
All right, but just mention, Morgan. Okay, everyone worked night and day on building me my IKEA furniture. Something that says what they're working on.
I mean, maybe it's ships. I don't know. I'd love to know. If you guys have an idea,
But there's no
please let
ship
us
you
know.
already.
I know. It's odd.
Yeah.
Believe me, it's very
I know
odd.
it's like in the 1950s or 60s sitcoms, the dad would always go to work.
Yeah.
And you'd never know what he did.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of like that.
Okay, I can see that.
Like you don't really need to know, but yeah, well, we're Star Wars fans. We need to know everything.
Yes, we do.
Don't leave those details just dangling there.
Okay, well, we do have to talk about Morgan once more before we move on to Barriss. And you were saying how now you feel sorry for Morgan Elsbeth?
Oh, I do. The same way you feel sorry for Anakin Skywalker when he becomes Darth Vader.
Yeah. And so I know that we love the villains that have their own agenda. You can kind of see where they're coming from. And I feel like these episodes really give us that story.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really see where Morgan is coming from. And Diana explains her headspace when she was playing Morgan.
You know, it's interesting because I would have these talks with Dave because, you know, even though technically she's classified as the villain in Mandalorian and Ahsoka, you know, what I'm really relieved is that when you watch Tales of the Empire, and for me, this is what I see, is nobody ever sees themselves as a villain, right? They just have certain needs and certain goals, and they're hoping to accomplish that. And I love that we see the vulnerability in Morgan. I love that we see that she also, in her way, a long time ago, had the ability to love and be loved by her mother and by her fellow Night Sisters. And, you know, it's just unfortunate that by seeing such chaos and the annihilation of her people, that she developed this armor of anger. And so, in a way, for me, psychologically, she's a fascinating character because there are aspects I think we all can relate to if we've gone through something very horrible in our lives, that that there are times where you do what you have to be a survivor. I just think it's fascinating the choices that she has made compared to like an Ahsoka, and how that manifested down the road for her. So yeah, that's what I find interesting in this whole journey of playing Morgan Elsbeth.
The armor of anger.
Mm.
I love that. That armor of anger leads to hate and suffering.
And suffering.
Don't you I just love getting in the headspace here, like talking and analyzing about these. So let's talk about Barriss Offee.
Okay.
So let's move on to episode number 4, Devoted.
All right, this opens with Barriss Offee looking out her cell window at the Jedi Temple burning as Order 66 has begun. The fourth sister Inquisitor, or her given name, Lynn Rakish, who we last saw in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, she forces Barriss into a rare opportunity. And as the fourth sister makes this offer, we hear the shock troopers behind her cock their blasters. So there's only one way to go with this.
There's no choice.
No. So Barriss, along with other Inquisitor hopefuls, are brought before the Grand Inquisitor. We're bringing him back, and he's voiced by Jason Isaacs, who sounds a little different.
He does sound a lot different. We thought it wasn't him.
I thought it was Rupert Friend.
Yeah.
Trying to tie in Obi-Wan Kenobi to this. Now, for Barriss's final test, she has to battle an old friend, Dante, who doesn't hold back from attacking Barriss. But in the end, she wins and is then inducted by her new master, Darth Vader. 3 other Inquisitors, including Marek from Ahsoka, are also taken in to be Inquisitors.
Is that the one that has like that
The
big
mask?
face? The grid. Oh,
yeah, the one.
Okay.
Who,
like a long face? Is it like a triangle face?
No, not that one. I think you're thinking about the Inquisitor we saw in Trials of the Jedi that Ahsoka defeated.
Oh, yes, I am. Okay.
This is the one that has like the grid mask.
Oh,
that turned
okay.
into green dust that everyone thought was Ezra.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, so this episode, again, now we see Barriss at her lowest point.
Yes.
And do you think she's feeling all those Jedi children getting slaughtered as she's looking across?
Maybe that's the one thing that, well, she heard the explosions and everything, but maybe,
Right.
yeah, she heard
I'm sure
those.
she's feeling it.
Yeah, those screams in the night.
Yeah, ooh.
Ooh.
Bad.
Yeah, so we're seeing this, and I like the fact that they started with the Order 66 imagery.
Right.
Because then it places you in the timeline.
Yes, I love that too. So Morgan's story began with Grievous burning down the Night Sister village, which is something we know about from the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, this one begins with Order 66 and the Jedi Temple burning, which we know about from Revenge of the Sith. So it's really cool, these touchstones that they're giving.
Yeah, very, very smart.
Yeah.
To put us in a timeline we're familiar with. Okay, now go.
Right. Yeah, it's great. So here I want to say that when Barriss is learning about being an Inquisitor, the music here is very ephemeral. There's not a lot of it, but it mostly just provides an uneasy atmosphere. There's no themes per se. It's just providing this very uneasy atmosphere as she's testing the waters and figuring out what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But in this episode, she and the Inquisitor get into a battle, and
he's training her.
He is, yeah. He's
her
training
training
her.
has begun,
and he draws blood,
yes.
like using the Force.
Yeah. Oh, he's like, you know what? I don't even need a lightsaber, because she's like, well, I can't attack you. You're unarmed. He's like,
yeah.
Don't worry about that.
That's so creepy. And then she's like, well, screw this, and she draws his blood, like using the Force. She Force pushes him back into the table. Like, I thought that was a nice duality right there.
He draws blood, and then she draws blood from him.
Yeah. So in these examples, we're seeing her responding to the situation. She's not the aggressor. She's just the one who is basically trying to save her own life. So she gets into this battle with Dante. You know, she's forced into fighting him to the death, basically.
In an awesome battle where you have this enclosing cage.
Yeah.
Because now there's a time limit.
Yeah, and there's a deep
there's a pit right in the middle.
There's a cage behind you, a pit in front of you. What do? And if one of them doesn't die before then, they both die.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know who designed this, Doug Chang. But he got a very warped imagination.
Yeah.
That was sickening. It's very Hunger Games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, there is no easy way out. You can't just say, nope, we're not going to battle each other. Well, you don't have to. Then you'll both die. If you do battle each other, one of you will survive.
Right. So do we think she turned bad in that moment that she killed Dante?
No, not whatsoever. Just because he attacked her. They're old friends. But he's like, all right, one of us is gonna leave the Thunderdome, and it's gonna be me.
Right.
And so he attacks her. So she's doing it out of self-defense.
Right.
That's the Jedi way.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to kill him.
No.
But it's killed or be killed. Which
like
really,
the Hunger Games.
Yeah. Which really impresses the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah. So she didn't quite go down as worse a path as Morgan at this point.
No, and we'll go into this in the next episode.
Right.
Where, as a little preview, she thinks the Empire and the Inquisitors are doing good.
Right, yeah. Okay, but first, before we get there, as she survives this ceremony, this induction ceremony, and kills Dante out of self-defense, then she gets to go into the Inquisitorious chamber. She is given her helmet, her Inquisitor's helmet, and so she loses her sense of self, right? The helmet covers her. And then she gets to meet who? Who walks in the room?
Oh, she gets to meet the one in charge, her new master. Here he is, Lord Darth Vader. Walks in with a heavy breathing.
But I want to note, we do not hear the Imperial March here. In fact, if you think about this timeline, this is almost immediately after he has gone through Order 66. He's killed all the children in the Jedi Temple. He's lost Padme. So really, Darth Vader at this point is a tragic figure. He's turned from Anakin to Vader, like maybe within the last week. Like, it hasn't been that long.
I would say the last day.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long. And here the music is very sorrowful.
Sorrowful.
Sorrowful,
okay.
It's very sorrowful, and it almost sounds like Padme's Ruminations, which is a track in Revenge of the Sith where the temple is burning and Padme looks across and you don't know what she's thinking, but she's like, you know, she's wondering, is Anakin over there? And it's like this haunting track. So I'm going to play a little of that, Padme's Ruminations. Then we're going to hear what was played when Vader walks into the room here. Now listen to what you hear behind Vader.
Long live the Empire.
Wow. How'd you pick that out?
I know that track very well.
Good Lord.
And just hearing that in here, I was like, oh my God, it's Ruminations. Like, there it is.
Wow. Good going on you.
Yeah.
Jeekers.
So again, we get this suffering happening. And everywhere. Like, everyone around is suffering because Anakin has turned to the dark side.
Now, was that male voices we heard on this one here? Well, it sounds like in the Padme's Ruminations, it was female wailing voices, but now it's electronic wailing voices.
Yeah, electronic. And then undercurrent, there's like, it sounds like a men's chorus down there.
Yeah.
Now, that could all be through electronic, but still.
Yeah, it sounds very electronic, which
Yeah.
very much symbolizes where Anakin is right now.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So now you had mentioned that in this next episode, you feel that the fourth sister and Barriss have really taken in this propaganda that the Inquisitors, they're doing good.
Yeah, they're hunting down those no good Jedi.
Exactly. So let's hear how Meredith Salenger explains how Barriss is influenced by all of this happening around her at this time.
I think what makes Barriss so compelling is that she really starts with such a desire to do what's right. I think she really believes deeply in the old Jedi text. I think she really appreciated her training under Luminara Unduli, who taught her how to be the best Jedi. And I think after her time hanging out with Ahsoka and Anakin, who are more free thinkers, not everything was done by the book, I think she's compelling because she starts to listen to her own moral compass as she's going through things. And she starts to have different opinions. I think she might have been influenced by Palpatine's propaganda that he put on the Jedi, about the Jedi rather. And I think her faith in the Jedi starts to waver a little bit. She's compelling because she has a moral dilemma and she thinks she's doing the right thing. And perhaps the way she went about it wasn't the right way, but she was very strong in her convictions. And I think in Tales of the Empire, you see her struggle with what to do with the options that are presented to her. And I think a lot of people go through that. I think your choices define your destiny. And I think what we learn in Tales from the Empire is that you always have a choice. You always have a choice to whatever path you're going to go down. And it's a good message.
Yeah, this goes back to the Clone Wars where she was thinking the Jedi are on the wrong side of this, which sent her down that dark path.
Right. Yeah.
So when she gets the opportunity to hunt down the Jedi, it's like, yeah, I'm right there.
Right.
I've been doing this longer than you have, Inquisitors.
Yeah, no kidding.
Jump on my bandwagon.
Yeah. So she becomes an Inquisitor, and it looks like one of her partners in this is the fourth sister. So let's move on to episode 5, Realization.
Oof, okay, lots to get into here. Now, in this episode, the fourth sister and Barriss, who's not given an Inquisitor name just yet.
Or we just don't know it.
Well, they would have said it. Lynn, or the fourth sister, would have called her by her Inquisitor name at this point. Well, they go up to find a Jedi who is connected to a rebel cell, and they enter a village which is in ruins, like it's just been bombarded. And Barriss is very empathetic to these people who are suffering. She's still under the belief that the Empire is good and thinks the Inquisitors are here to bring order and stop chaos. All right, I can see that propaganda working on her. She's a young kid.
Yep.
But while questioning the villagers, Barriss connects with a little girl who tells her a Jedi is hiding in the mountains. It's always those mountains.
Oh.
Yeah, so the fourth sister proceeds to kill the people for lying about hiding a Jedi, because she said, Tell me the truth. And the villagers are like, well, no Jedi here. Well, fourth sister, she's like, well, you guys were lying, so guess what? You are going to be killed.
Mm-hmm.
People are judged by their actions, she says. Now those who witness our strength will respect it. It starts the wheels going in Barriss's head. No, that's not the way things work.
Right.
But Barriss, later on, she finds the Jedi on top of the mountain and gets... Okay, we got to go here. She gets them to give in.
Mm-hmm.
And as the Jedi turns off their lightsaber, the fourth sister plunges her lightsaber right into their back.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, Barriss realizes she can't do this anymore. And she battles the fourth sister, which sends her over the edge. She then tosses her Inquisitor helmet over the edge as well, saying that, I've had enough. This
Exactly.
is not what I signed up for.
Yes. All right. Actually, your description brought back another parallel to Morgan's story. So Morgan, when she thinks all is lost, she joins the Mountain Clan people, right?
Mm-hmm. The high ground.
On the top of the mountain. Yeah, that too. And here, Barriss finds a Jedi at the top of the mountain. Yet another, it's like a different way of thinking. She finds this Jedi at the top of the mountain. Also, the fourth sister reaches the top first and starts fighting the Jedi, just like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fight Darth Maul. Qui-Gon gets there first, starts fighting, and can't take it on. In fact, the Jedi here almost defeats Lynn. But then Barriss comes up and fights and wins.
Barriss is more about doing the Jedi way of let's negotiate.
Yes.
Let's put the violence.
Aggressive negotiations.
Let's put that on hold. Yes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that did the Jedi in.
Exactly.
Now the Jedi.
Yes.
They called her they.
Or they.
As if the pronoun was they or them.
Right.
Okay, great. You know what? It's progressive. But for a second there, I thought, oh, wait a minute. Are there more Jedi?
Right.
And
it is confusing.
And then Rye Chase voiced the Jedi.
Yes.
Like, okay, let's do a deep dive in here. And I'm not any more clear.
Well, okay, so I am actually the Instagram.
Okay, just because some posts will say her, some will say him, and some will say them.
Okay. So on Rye Chase's Instagram, under pronouns, it says all. So it could be any.
Okay,
any
great.
Pronoun. Yeah.
Just having the Jedi character reflect the actor, I thought it was really progressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, to me, they looked like a he, but it could be any, I guess, so they, them is the pronoun. That might come back later in episode 6, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
Okay. Now, one question I have, I don't know if, this must be before the Obi-Wan series, I would imagine. Because we know the fourth sister comes back in Obi-Wan.
Oh.
But I think this is right after Revenge of the Sith. Not too far away from the beginning of Barriss's journey where she's turned into the Inquisitor.
So it is unclear, honestly.
Yeah, and I would think that the Obi-Wan series, I think it's about 10 years before A New Hope.
Okay.
Because Luke is 9.
Yes.
So we know, okay, so I guess we answered our own question. When the fourth sister went over the edge, well, she pulled a Darth Maul.
Yeah, she didn't die.
She's coming back.
Yeah, she's fine. She saved herself with the Force. She realized she was falling. She was like, oh, and used the Force to cushion her fall, I suppose. Yeah, because she comes back in episode 6.
Yeah, she falls into the mist. It's like, okay, if we don't see the body bounce, they ain't dead.
Even if they're cut in half and we see both halves falling, they're not dead.
Right. Even if they get plunged with a lightsaber, they ain't dead.
Exactly.
Looking at you, Sabine.
Oh my gosh.
And the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah. All right. So I want to go back to Meredith Salenger again and what she said about how Barriss is affected by those around her, because in these episodes, we see that Barriss is really about connecting with people. She connects with that child in the village, gets the kid to tell her where the Jedi is. She connects later in the next episode. So
she connected with the Jedi.
You're right. Yeah, and she connected with the Jedi. So
okay, can I bring an asterisk here?
Absolutely.
When the fourth sister kills all the villagers for lying, she did save the child. She did.
Yeah, because the child didn't lie.
Right. Yeah, and just it was more. I think it was more of a this could happen to you, child. If you lie, this could happen to you. And hoping the child will grow up and tell other people, don't lie to the Inquisitors.
What a lesson.
Oh,
jeez.
Good Lord.
All right, so let's hear from Meredith talking about how Barriss is affected by those around her, but how she chooses to follow her own moral compass.
I think every situation you're in is a teaching moment. I think the people that you surround yourself with, you can either learn and appreciate the goodness you learn from them, or you can fall into hate that people that you're surrounded by, or you can see things that you disagree with. And every situation will form your sense of self deeper and deeper if you choose to go by your center. If you are really dedicated to your own moral structure, every scenario that you are in will shape who you are.
Oh, very much so.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happens to Barriss here.
Mm-hmm.
So from that moment on, it's clear that Barriss chose the light. She chose to kind of be more Jedi-like.
Yeah.
And even probably help out with the path, right? Saving
from Obi-Wan.
Kids. Yeah, the path from Obi-Wan. Exactly. So here, let's move on to episode 6, The Way Out. So this last story opens on an ice planet where parents seek the healer to protect their young child from the Empire, who came to their village to test the blood of all the children. Oh, this is chilling. This is like the Bad Batch.
Yeah, we've seen it before.
Yes. And the healer turns out to be Barriss Offee, and she's called the Wise Mother, and she has definitely aged. There's a lot of lines on her face. And the parents tell her, that's when we met the Traveler, and they told us to find you.
Ooh, so make the connection. Go ahead.
I think the Traveler is the Jedi from the previous episode because they used the they them pronouns. That's just me. But it could.
And even though the Jedi was stabbed.
Right. No, it's fine.
Yeah, it was uncertain that the Jedi died.
No.
And I think this is very telling here.
Yes.
That the Jedi did survive.
Yeah. Yeah, and Barriss said to the Jedi in that previous episode, I won't let you die.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and she's the healer. She's the Wise Mother. She's a healer.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, things go south as the fourth sister appears. Why? Just stay out of my life, why don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Now, as she was tailing the Force-sensitive child, the fourth sister shows up because she's been tailing this family, and she's surprised to find that Barriss is also here. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Oh, the circle is now complete. Barriss then tells her sloth friend, she's in this little tiny, I wouldn't call it a village of like 3 tents.
Yeah.
But there's one creature who looks like a big sloth. She says, all right, take the family to an old friend. She will know what to do. So who do you think that friend is?
So, honestly, it's very unclear who that is.
I think that's the purpose of that.
Right. That could leave it open to a connection somewhere. You know, Dave Filoni has all these spaghetti strands in his head of the characters' journeys and how they connect and things.
All right, but who would you think that would be?
Well, at this point, I guess the Obi-Wan Kenobi series would have happened.
Yes.
Okay, so this would be well after that. So I guess it could be.
Yeah.
Would Ahsoka?
I'm gonna say Ahsoka.
Really, but
yeah.
Okay.
But
she's on the search for Ezra, though.
Yes.
I don't know.
Now they need to tie this up. You can't just throw that out there and forget about it.
Well, I think this strand will come back in a series later or something.
Very much so.
Yeah.
The Omega series.
Well, what about Ventress? Because she's kind of out there. I don't know.
I think now you're just grabbing at straws.
I know. Well,
I think it's Ahsoka.
Oh,
and we're gonna see another Tales of the.
I know.
Ahsoka Barriss story.
Smugglers.
And I think we're gonna see something where the two of them connect, and Barriss comes back and says, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I pinned this on you. I'm so sorry."
Wouldn't it be cool if it was like Tales of Connections or something? Because like we have these singular stories and now it's all about connecting the characters. That's a terrible name.
Or just have a one-off 1 hour movie.
Tales of Star Wars.
Tales of Ahsoka gets an apology from Barriss. It's a long title, but you know what? Think about it. Ruminate on it, okay?
Okay, all right.
All right, now from here, Barriss calls Ford's sister Lynn, even after she says, "Don't call me Lynn. My name is the Ford's sister," much like the Vader and Anakin.
Yes.
Yeah, you call Darth Vader Anakin, no, and he just loses it.
Yeah.
So Barriss warns Lynn not to follow the child into the cave where the ship is, but of course she does, and Lynn gets lost in the cave and she's slashing around at all the ice cavern cave walls, and she turns around and stabs again, but she stabs Barriss.
Yeah.
Oh no! But as we've learned, you get stabbed by a lightsaber, you're good. And Lynn appears remorseful as she holds her old friend, and Barriss tells her, "You know the way out." Okay, way out of the cave or way out of where I am in life?
Both.
Right. So seeing her destiny with the Empire, Lynn, the fourth sister, carries Barriss out of the cave.
Yeah, into the light.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Very powerful imagery there.
Very powerful. Also, Lynn herself, by going into that ice cave, it's almost like, caves are where you have introspection. Caves are where you learn something about yourself.
You see Luke, you see Rey doing that same thing.
Exactly. So Lynn in this moment, she has to face who she has become. And literally she has to face her reflection in the ice several times. And she hates it. She slashes it.
Yeah.
She slashes herself, her reflection. And so, yeah, it's very, oh my God, I'm getting like emotional.
Yeah, she's really slashing at the fact that she is not in control.
Yeah.
I can't find my way out. I'm seeing myself in that reflection, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing because I'm lost. I'm seeing this lost Inquisitor. Inquisitors should never be this lost.
Right.
So she's just feeling very powerless.
And Barriss calls that out. She says to Lynn, "It seems fear is not your ally, but your master."
And she's like, "Yeah, you got my number."
Yeah. Okay, so here the music is yet another connection to Morgan's story. So Morgan, at the very beginning when she's in the Mountain Clan, remember I mentioned that solo violin happening? Well, at the end of this series, when Lynn is trying to make her decision of whether to stay an Inquisitor or help Barriss or what to do here, there's this beautiful violin solo happening. So it brings it back to this violin, and all the music up until this point has been in this minor key, very mournful. Even throughout the whole series, throughout these whole 6 episodes, there's this mournfulness to the music, to everywhere. Well, when Lynn makes the decision to get Barriss out, there's this huge shift from a minor key to a major key, and I just want you to listen to what Kevin Kiner does here because it makes me cry.
I'm gonna get you out of here.
Now, why do you think they went with a male chorus? It starts off with a male chorus, and then female voices are incorporated.
I mean, that's just to... It's like grounding you. The male voices kind of ground you and give you it's like home. Right there, that violin, when it changes into that major key, is just, it's so poignant, that moment. And then the chorus is just there because the choral voices have been a part of this whole series up to this point. So I think it's just rounding out those feelings. Also, in this moment, she picks up Barriss when she says, "I'm going to get you out of here." She picks up Barriss and leaves behind her Inquisitor lightsaber.
Oh, yeah, another great, powerful image.
Okay. The series is like getting to me just talking about it.
And another behind the scenes fact, they brought back Susie McGrath, who who returns as the mother character.
Ooh.
In the beginning, there's a mother and the father
Yeah.
trying to escape with the child, and the mother is Susie McGrath, who was in the very first episode as a witch.
Yeah.
Who once again voiced Tam Rivora in Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in the end, a great series, but I'm gonna circle back to, I just wish they hadn't called it Tales of the Empire, because do you get any kind of Imperial storylines out of this?
No, but it doesn't matter to me, I guess. I don't know.
No. But I love the machinations of the Empire, so that's what I was expecting. But they zigged where I was going to zag, and they gave us this, which was great. But you know when you have expectations?
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know more than anybody. But in the end, this was a fantastic series with two very, very powerful characters who both have to turn for better or for worse.
Yeah, and I love the dichotomy of these. This makes me want to go rewatch Tales of the Jedi and look for those parallels in both the story, the music, and the imagery, because here it's all over the place. And so I think we even missed some stuff in Tales of the Jedi. So I'm excited. Let's go rewatch everything.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
All right, now to hear the full roundtable audio, please head over there to our YouTube channel, the Skywalking Through Neverland YouTube channel. We'll put the links in the show notes. But if you go to our YouTube channel, they're right there, and you'll hear the full, complete roundtable discussion with all the Star Wars fan outlets.
And I do want to note, Richard, you got to ask a question of Meredith Salenger of what do you think happens after this series?
Oh,
yeah,
that's right. Because I wanted to know, because the gate is wide open. Where are you gonna go? So
because we know when you run through by a lightsaber, you're not dead.
No.
Yeah.
So I want to know from you, Meredith, where do you think this is going to go?
Well, I can't spoil what happens at the end, but if there was a fantasy world where I could create more Barriss, she's got a lot she has to deal with how her relationship with Ahsoka ended. And I think Barriss Offee and Ahsoka Tano need to have some time together to rehash and explain and reconnect. And it would be like the two of them going off on adventures together, because I think they really do have a strong bond. And I think they believe in the same things ultimately.
Great. Thank you. That's what we were saying. I think the two of them need to sit down for a cupcake lunch and just hash things out. Now, Ahsoka had teamed up with Asajj Ventress in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And Asajj tried repeatedly to kill all the Jedi.
That's true.
So, you know what? You apologize. We'll put it behind us. Let's go get a cupcake, and we'll move on. We'll do some arts and crafts this afternoon.
Cupcakes and tea.
Yeah.
And arts and crafts.
Yeah. So that's the series that I'm going to bet the farm on that we're going to see.
I would love to see that. And yeah, they got some stuff to work out. And I love that Meredith brought that up.
Yeah, it's funny how she said, I don't want to spoil anything. It's like,
Yeah.
well, we've already seen it at this point.
It's okay. Yeah, yeah. So I want to encourage you, Skywalkers, if you've only watched through this series once, watch again, because we watched them twice and I got so much more out of that second viewing that we're talking about today. And I just, the artistry of this, the artistry of the animators and the directors and writers, it's just fabulous.
This is Ashley Eckstein, the voice of Ahsoka Tano and founder of Her Universe, and I am challenging you to wish upon a star and make your dreams come true. And I am skywalking through Neverland.
Shoutouts, Skywalker shoutouts. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who has tweeted out? Shout out. Who has photobombed? Shout out. Who has shared a post? Shout out.
All right, once a month, we shout you out the Skywalking Force because you are our beating heart. We love you. So thank you so much to Anthony Kakias,
Blessed Cheesemaker,
Bryn McKinnon,
Carl Fox,
Chickafant,
Christopher Marino,
Courtney Turkel,
Dale Erdman,
Dan Boris,
Darren Irvine,
Dave Kerwin,
Don Glover,
Derek Beebe,
Garrett Sessions,
Glenn Stein,
Jennifer Cole,
Jeremy and Heather Hunt,
John Liang,
John Zancanaro,
Julie Caruana,
Julie Gildersleeve,
Cato Ryder,
Kelly Turkel,
Laura Bryce,
Leanne Nelson,
Meredith Duckworth,
Michael Corbett,
Michael Nip,
Mike Ward,
Nancy Steinman,
Patrick Pine,
Patty Hammond,
Patty Nazarian,
Peter and Norma Heitman,
Reynold Gobey,
Robert Avia,
Scott Carmichael,
Scott Hume,
Tim Knight,
Wesley Meatcombs,
and
Wynn Patterson. They are the kyber crystals to our lightsaber.
I love it.
Oh, good.
Well, that wraps up episode 462 of
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We want to thank Disney and Lucasfilm for inviting us to these press events and to all of you Skywalkers who listen every week. We love you.
And once again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need some more. We need some more subscribers. We want to get at least 9,000 before we go to Houston Comicpalooza.
Right.
Which means like 150 more. What do you think?
Let's do it, Skywalkers.
Come on, please get us there. So just hit subscribe for those notifications, and we thank you in advance. Now, are you interested in our books? Well, autographed copies of Today in Star Wars History, Part 1 and 2, and Skywalking Through My Fandom, the interactive notebook, they are available at skywalkingthroughneverland.com/book. And we got a lot of orders this week, so thank you.
Star Wars month is here, and you guys need gifts or want gifts for yourselves, so thank you.
And they want to brush up on their Star Wars.
I love it.
What better way? I don't know. I don't think there is one.
In fact, the month of May is really fun in that book. I think it's the most fun month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Woohoo.
All right, now, do you want to support Skywalking Through Neverland in other ways? Well, consider supporting us through the Skywalking Force, our Patreon. That way we can shout you out once a month. The Skywalking Force has access to bonus content in the form of Zoom discussions on the latest Disney Plus shows. Now, bonus content begins at only $5 a month, so head over there to skywalkingforce.com and have a look at the options. And thank you to those who are already part of the Skywalking Force.
We love you.
Now, we want to thank our sponsor as well, Small World Vacations, for their continued support. Thinking of a trip to a Disney park or a Disney cruise? We can fill out a Get a Quote form at smallworldvacations.com today. Their vacation planning service is free of charge, so check it out and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you. My voice just cracked. Did you notice?
I did.
I pulled a Peter Brady.
That's okay. Peter Brady was the cute one.
Okay, I would have given that to Marcia, but sure.
Well.
Or Tiger. Tiger's cute too.
Who's Tiger?
The dog.
Oh. Yes.
We'll talk about that later on. Okay. All right, now we are part of the Skywalking Network.
Skynet.
Where you can find other great shows like Talking Apes,
the Max Effects Podcast,
the Neverland Clubhouse,
Totally Tell Me Everything,
Star Warsologies,
and the YouTube shows Collectopolis and
Today in Star Wars History.
You can find us on social media. Our Instagram is blowing up with lots of BDX droids and all kinds of fun reels.
Sabine's like the biggest thing this month.
Sabine's reels. And also we did some fun reels and stories from Universal's 60th Tram Tour. So make sure to check those out at Skywalking Pod. You can also join our Facebook group, or you can email us, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
Now, don't forget to stick around for bloopers and other fun bits that didn't make it into the show. And
always remember,
Neverland on Alderaan. Or Corvus. It burnt up.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't this time you do the clappy claps?
Okay.
Hey, there's a first. You did the clappy claps. Look how happy you are.
To never go down the fear of fear, anger, or
Suffer.
suffering, or hate.
Or suffering.
I messed up.
Don't worry, I'll put in the bloopers.
Okay.
And Neverland on.
Do it again.
Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.